from Plans Meet Paper, and today I wanted to come on and give you guys a quick look at how I am budgeting here in my Filofax planner. So I'll go ahead and flip to my budget section. Now right at the beginning, I did want to say I've been putting off filming this video for forever. I've gotten several requests for this type of video, which is why I'm going to go ahead and film it. But I am not a budget expert. This is just what I do. It's really simple and basic, but I just wanted to throw that out there that I'm just kind of sharing my experience, but I'm by no means an expert. So I'll go ahead and get into it. First thing I have in here is my monthly bill tracker, and this is something I've been using consistently for years. I really love this page because it's just a really easy way to see how your monthly bills fluctuate throughout the year. So what I do on here, it's just a monthly tracker. So it has all 12 months of the year here at the top of the page. And then it has the bills listed over here on the side. So I have all of the bills that we pay on a monthly, quarterly, whatever basis. I list them over here on the side. And then as I pay them each time, I just write down the amount. And that way, over the course of the year, it's very easy for me to see how much things have changed throughout the year. It's especially helpful for things like the gas bill and energy bill, things that depend on the season. The water bill if we're watering the lawn, and the gas bill if we're running the furnace all the time, etc. So that's really helpful. And then it also helps me to make sure I'm staying on top of any subscriptions that we have. So like Netflix or Hulu or things like that, because I do like to cancel those if we're not using them, and just really keep on top of how many subscription services that we have. So that's what I use this for. Another note for this video, you will see these sticky notes covering things up throughout the video. That's just for privacy. I'm pretty private about financial stuff, so I just have covered some things up, but I hope you can kind of still get the gist of the insert even with the details covered up. So that's the first page. The next page that I have here is just some budget notes. And I tend to do this probably once a quarter. And if I miss it, I'll definitely do it once every 6 months at least. And this is just where I write down our account totals for our different, big savings accounts and investment accounts. And I'll kind of I'll end up totaling it all up and figuring out the sum plus or minus change that it has had in the last 3 months or 6 months. That way I can really see how much we're saving and in what different accounts. And that's helpful for me. And using those totals, I'm able to really create a decent, thoughtful budget for our credit cards. Now, credit cards are kind of a sensitive topic when it comes to budgeting. And I think how you use them really depends on your financial situation currently, and then also your personality with spending. My husband is super frugal and careful with money, and so he never overspends. He's very thoughtful about how he spends. And I also tend to be fairly frugal, not quite as much as him, but I kind of tend towards the minimalist mindset where I'm pretty careful about spending because I don't like to bring extra things into the home that I'm not sure if we're going to use. And then also I do enjoy thrifting and finding things for a good deal. So both of us tend to be pretty careful spenders to begin with. So we feel comfortable using credit cards, and we really like using credit cards for all of our main expenses throughout the month, other than bills. We use credit cards for pretty much everything, and then we pay it all off at the end of the month. And that is for the credit card points that we can apply for travel or to Amazon or whatever we want to use them for. But again, the decision whether or not to use credit cards in that way is definitely dependent on your situation and your personality, I think, with spending. So I figure out how much to budget for our credit cards, which, like I said, we use our credit cards for pretty much any kind of spending other than just paying bills. And so that's for all of our food budget, both restaurant and grocery store, and then anything else that we buy. So everything else, clothes, entertainment, toys for our kids, books, everything. And so that is the amount that we budget, and I kind of rethink about that every couple months to make sure that the budget still makes sense based off of our account totals. And sometimes I'll try to decrease the spending, decrease the budget a little bit in order to increase the monthly savings if we have a specific goal in mind. I try to update my tracker at least 2 times monthly. This year I've been trying to do it weekly, and that's been a good habit to get in the hang of. And then my other goal for this quarter was to always wait at least 1 week for any purchase that's over $100, for things that are just like extra things that we don't absolutely need. If we can, I want to wait a week and really think about it, consider it, think about if we can find it somewhere else for a better deal, or if we can just get by without buying that. And that really helps me to resist impulse spending. So those are my goals for this quarter. I did this in end of December of 2021. And I'll do it again coming up here in a few weeks as the first quarter ends. And then this, I just totally made up a sample budget, again, or sample spending tracker, because I just tend to be a little bit private about financial information, but I wanted to show you what I've been doing. So I just write the month up here at the top, and then I have 2 sides of this tracking page. This is just a 2-column dot grid page that I use for this. So sample, this would say March food budget, and then March other budget, or whatever month it is. And I put in our budget. So for the sake of this example, I put in $700 for food for the month. And like I said, this would include any food purchases, so both grocery and restaurant. We eat out not very often, pretty rarely, so almost all of our charges here end up being different grocery stores that we go to. And then on the back is everything else, the other budget. So like I said, this is like anything else that we buy from Amazon, any store, if I go to get my hair cut, anything is in that other budget. So for the sake of this example, I put in $300. So that totals to $1,000 for the month. So what I do is each week, I usually on Tuesdays, I try to make it my regular habit that every Tuesday, I make sure I go in and I track our spending from the previous week. I'm not very good at doing this throughout the week. With little kids, when I get home from the grocery store, there's like 1,000 things to do every week, because they're always hungry and having to go potty and get a diaper change. And then of course I have all the groceries that are sitting on the counter getting warm. So I just never remember to track the receipt right at that moment. So it's better for me to just save it all and do it on Tuesdays every week. And as long as I do it consistently, it still helps me to stay mindful of our spending. So I write in all the stores that I went to in the past week and the total spent at each store. I total that up. I like to total it each week so I can see like, whoa, I actually spent $317 this week in my shopping, which is a lot. And so that way I can kind of rein myself in if I need to try to meet the budget for the rest of the month. At the beginning of the month, I tend to have higher weekly spending because we do like our bigger grocery hauls at the beginning of the month usually, and then try to eat it up as the month continues. So I hope that makes sense. And I total it up, subtract it from the total, so I have my remaining balance here. And then I just do the next thing each week. So I have always a running balance of where I'm at on my budget throughout the month. And same thing on the back, any other spending that I do throughout the week, I write it here, total it up, and then subtract it from the budget so I have my remaining balance. Now, one thing that I will mention is that I've always found budget tracking to be tricky, or spending tracking, because I tend to shop at places like Target or at Costco, Walmart, all of those places. We don't just buy food there, we buy everything else that we need. So like shampoo or cleaning supplies, diapers, anything like that. And so it's always a little tricky because, especially things like diapers and wipes, or if I happen to buy clothes there or something like that, those can be a little bit pricey and can end up making us go over our food budget for the month. And so what I do is I almost always go over my food budget. That's something that I'm working on. But if I do go over my food budget, I take that out of my other budget. That's why I kind of like having them both right here. And so as soon as I go over on my food budget, I know I'm cutting into my other budget for the rest of that month. And that way I try to keep, the total for both of those spending things under control. And, that kind of takes the pressure off because again, I just feel like I don't have time to go through a receipt and like itemize it by food and other stuff. So I just don't do that. I just total it up. Anything that was at like a grocery store, I put on this side, but if I go over budget, then I just take that amount out of the other budget, and it works out fine for me. It still helps me to be mindful about my spending. So I hope that makes sense. Those are really the only things I'm doing right now to track budgeting here in my Filofax, and those are the things that are helping me to think about spending carefully. In the past, I have used this budget tracker insert as well, which is available in my Etsy shop. This one is really helpful if either your income is not always what you thought it would be each month. So if your income fluctuates each month, this one's helpful because it has planned and actual. And same thing with monthly expenses. Like if your bills fluctuate a lot from month to month, this can be a really helpful insert to use. And basically how I've used this one in the past is I just put all of our incomes over here on this section. So my husband's, and then any incomes that I have over here. And then I fill out this monthly expenses breakdown next. And this is like all the individual bills. So the mortgage, the electricity, the gas, the water, trash pickup, internet, gas cost, every individual bill goes over here. And then I kind of sum those up into categories on this spot. So housing would be everything that has to do with our house. I total that up and I put it in one category, and that again helps me to kind of see where our money is going. Especially like when we first moved into this new house, I definitely was using this for a little while to see kind of where our money was going in bigger categories. How much were we spending on transportation since we were in a new job situation for my husband? How much were we spending on housing with our new house, etc. So this can be helpful if you either have kind of a new situation going on with your housing or your transportation or any area of your life really. And then also if your planned versus actual expenses don't always match up. That can be very helpful. At the end of the month, you would just total up your income, your expenses, and then subtract them to figure out what your extra savings is. I am a math nerd, so I like to know what the percentage of my income spent was, and then any notes or goals for the next month I would write at the bottom here. So that's just a kind of explanation of this insert, which I am not currently using, but I do use throughout my life at different times. So I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. As I said, I am not a budgeting expert, but I will love chatting with you guys down there and hearing your thoughts. So feel free to chat down there. Thanks for watching today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.